Yo, man, what's good, to man? Y'all know it is. It's your boy, Mickal. That's AK Mr. Sniper. Bomber in the chat, Damon. We got part 3 of the London killer rappers suspect after getting the war in Camden. If you're new, hit that like, subscribe, and share. This is part 3. Let's get into it.
Usual culprits, he raps that his ops can no longer drive with their windows down since Armed Response got stabbed. And on the song Secret's Not Safe, he raps that Armed Response got splashed because he was lacking. Besides the events of that day eventually becoming notorious to drill music fans, soon the authorities would also catch up to this ongoing street activity. The police would later locate the Audi, finding 2 sets of fingerprints belonging to combo affiliates RH and RO. However, neither would seemingly be charged with the attack at the time, with the police seemingly not having enough evidence to connect them to the crime. However, unfortunately, street justice would soon play out, and in an effort to exact revenge on those who they believed were responsible for the near-fatal attack on a prominent active gang member, yet another young man connected to Camden's warring gangs would lose his life on those very streets. The next victim would be a teenager named Alex Smith, better known by his peers on the street as Culprit. 16-year-old Culprit was seemingly affiliated with the 51st Estate combo, and he could be seen on his social media posts hanging out in the block with other members.
Number 16.
Another clip would circulate online, appearing to show Culprit getting G-checked and threatened with a zombie knife in public. Clips like this really highlight the danger that even younger gang members in Camden were constantly faced with because of the escalating beef in the streets. However, according to some, Culprit himself was involved in the violence and played a prominent role, not just in the streets, but also in drill music where people spoke on the violence. Songs would later circulate depicting Culprit with other members from affiliated estates like Peckwater. On one particular freestyle, he appeared to address that video of him getting G-checked, rapping how he might have been caught lacking, but his op got killed. Even at age 16, Culprit's lyrics were as violent as his older rivals. And that freestyle also had him dissing his dead ops, as well as claiming that he would chase his rivals and stab them if they trip up. Culprit seemed to hate particularly one gang, which surprisingly was an active gang, but another local gang called Cali Road, or the Cali Boys, from the Islington borough that neighbours Camden. Another freestyle by Culprit has circulated online that features a peculiar cover art, depicting another young man's head pasted on a sign stating, "Stop killing the Mandem." The person whose head this is was an alleged affiliate of the Cali Road gang that Culprit was known to have a beef with, a 17-year-old teenager who went by the nickname Neds, real name Nadeem Bilgin. On 7 PM of the 29th of January 2019, Neds was killed on a busy Caledonian road, and although several people were arrested soon after his death, the case remains unsolved to this day. Neds was, according to his friends, one in a million type personality who was selfless and had a big heart. However, according to his mother, Neds was also seen by the school system as a problem child. He had fallen into the gang life too, and had even gone missing in the months leading up to his death, which led to speculation that he had been groomed by older members of the gang to participate in county lines drug dealing networks. This is a British phenomenon whereby drug dealers in London establish operations in smaller towns elsewhere in the UK to widen the market for the sale of narcotics, protecting the ringleaders from getting caught themselves. Unfortunately, Neds' proximity to the streets would end up claiming his life, and after Neds' death, Culprit clearly had no sympathy. He would apparently make a song called CRK, or Cali Road Killer, where he seemingly disses Neds, using that cover art that depicted Neds holding the sign saying "Stop killing the Mandem." Now, it's unclear how true the rumours of Culprit being a killer himself are, as the murder of Neds remains unsolved, but based on the content of his lyrics and social media postings which were preserved, clearly at this point, Culprit appeared to be deeply involved in the gang lifestyle. Although unfortunately,
crazy,
there was
bro. They in the lifestyle early. Some getting killed at 16, 17, even probably 15, bro. Damn.
Another more positive path he nearly followed. According to later news reports, Culprit hadn't always been in the streets, but was in fact a gifted football player and a big Arsenal fan. He'd even trialled at the youth academy for Southampton Football Club. Clearly a talented player, had he focused on football, he may well have ended up playing for a Premier League team. But unfortunately, Culprit ended up being released by the youth football academy, and his path to playing professional football fell by the wayside. And it was losing this opportunity which, according to his friends, caused him to go off the rails and associate with the wrong people, eventually falling into the gang life. It's a sad story because you never know how different things could have played out, not just for him, but also for those that played a role in his demise. Anyway, in August 2019, Camden was hot and the police were active in the streets trying to get ahead of the violence.
See, if he would have killed him then, he probably would have made it to a Premier League team. He could have played for Arsenal. You never know. He probably could have made a Premier League team, bro.
One clip would circulate on social media depicting armed officers conducting a traffic stop at gunpoint in the middle of Camden High Street in broad daylight. with hundreds of shocked members of the public looking on. But despite the increased police presence, active gang members were still looking to cause harm to their ops and get revenge for what happened to Armed Response, as videos of them spinning the blocks and smoking to unreleased music would later circulate. Unfortunately, on the 12th of August 2019, active gang members would end up getting just what they were looking for, as that evening, culprit had been spending the night hanging out with friends. Later they would head to a Nando's restaurant on Great Portland Street in the Cumbo neighborhood. There's even a picture of Alex in that Nando's eating what would end up being his last meal with fellow Cumbo affiliate Gutter. Meanwhile, on the Agar Grove estate, police would later establish through a combination of ANPR, which in the UK is automatic number plate recognition that automatically reads the license plates of passing cars, as well as CCTV and cell site evidence that active gang members, Armed Response, and a young man who was helping him run his county lines operation had spent that day travelling in a stolen blue Seat Leon with fake plates in the port city of Southampton, around 2 hours away from London, likely as part of another county lines operation ran by the 71st side of the gang war. Apparently the group had planned an attack on their ops in London, so they had returned to London in the stolen Seat together, arriving at AR's address at around 9:50 PM. They would stay there for around 20 minutes before leaving the home in the blue Seat where suspect was living. That car would arrive just after a white Ford Fiesta, also with stolen plates, at around 10:30 PM. Later court documents would reveal that while at suspect's house, his runner was offered drugs by Somalian boys who he claimed not to have met, but it's believed that these boys were SY and S-Wavy. Along with suspect, this made up a deadly trio that would later be referred to in music as Triple S. At around 10:30 PM, right when culprit and his friends were reportedly leaving the Nando's restaurant, the Ford Fiesta would leave suspect's apartment for about 15 minutes, allegedly to spin the block and search for their ops. At 10:30, AR and a younger member called Y Traps would speak on the phone, and then again at 10:44. At around 10:45, the Fiesta would return while the Seat would leave, before returning 8 minutes later. Then, just before 11 PM, both cars left and went to number 8 Longford Street, a block associated with Cumbo, arriving shortly after 11 PM. The Seat was being driven by AR, with Reeks in the front passenger seat, and his runner in the back seat. Meanwhile, the Ford was being driven by SY, with suspect in the front passenger seat and S-Wavy in the back seat. So that deadly trio, Triple S, were all travelling in the Ford. Right before, just at around 10:30 PM, culprit had left the Nando's restaurant on Great Portland Street, proceeding northbound with 3 friends, one of whom was actually believed to have been involved in the attack on AR just months earlier. It's believed that the car carrying Triple S spotted culprit and his group and identified them as the ops they were looking for, with suspect apparently jumping out of the car on Longford Street and proceeding on foot wielding a foot-long machete and making no attempts to conceal it. This was likely a large zombie knife, the kind of blade that suspect would rap fondly about throughout his career as a drill rapper. Him and S-Wavy ran into the entrance of the block looking for their ops, with Reeks following short.
Imagine that, bro. You just chilling. Y'all come with a big ass knife running at you. Oh my gosh.
Behind. Reeks would leave the building and return to the car, opening the door, but he wouldn't get back in, returning to the building. Whilst the 3 of them were in the building, the others in the car would see culprit and his friends. Culprit would seemingly notice them, taking off running to an estate on the north side of Euston Road, where they were likely trying to hide from suspect's crew. Suspect, S-Wavy, and Reeks would then leave the building on Longford Street, but instead of getting back into the cars, they would remain on foot, taking chase while the drivers of the car attempted to keep eyes on the victims and cut off their escape. During this foot chase, suspect was seen by members of the public brandishing that foot-long machete openly. Whilst desperately trying to escape his attackers, culprit would frantically knock on the doors of nearby houses, begging people for help, but no one would answer him. The court would later hear that it was believed that the attackers mistakenly believed that they were chasing one of the people involved in the stabbing of AR. However, once they caught up, it simply didn't matter who it was, they would be exacting street revenge. Culprit would ultimately be outrun by his attackers in Munster Square near Regent's Park, where AG members would fatally stab him in the chest. A post-mortem would reveal that culprit was stabbed at least twice, with one being a fatal stab wound to the chest. Witnesses claimed to have heard the attackers screaming and laughing as they were running away from the scene of the murder. Police were called at 11:10 PM, but unfortunately culprit would be pronounced dead at the scene at 11:33 PM, and the following day, police would be seen combing yet another Camden crime scene for evidence. After the killing, suspect
Bro, they was laughing while
Wavy and Reeks waited nearby until they were picked up in the Ford Fiesta, with that car driving off with the Seat not far behind. Both cars were driven to the Kilburn area, and minutes after the stabbing, AR would attempt to call Y Traps 5 times before finally getting through to him at 11:21 PM. Just before 2 AM, his runner unsuccessfully attempted to purchase gasoline in a plastic jerry can at Tesco Esso in Maida Vale, and then 10 minutes later, he was seen on CCTV successfully purchasing £2.59 worth of petrol. The fuel was then used to burn the Seat used in the crime, and its charred remains were later found found in East Barnet, whilst the Fiesta was found burnt in Kilburn Park. After news of Culprit's murder went public, the local community formed a memorial at the spot where he lost his life. A mural which the family had to fight to keep up, with a petition to the local council who had planned to remove it. The council even pulled this off, with the brick wall there being repainted as if nothing had ever happened. However, in the end, the community would ultimately win, and a new mural was soon painted in the same spot, and this time it was allowed to remain, soon becoming a symbol where 51st affiliates would pay tribute to their fallen friend. However, conversely, some of those who had been hurt by Culprit's actions in the streets would return to deface the mural. One particularly brutal diss song relating to Culprit's death came a year after the killing, with active gang member 2 Smokey releasing a song titled Knock Down Ginger aimed squarely at Culprit. This is a song essentially mocking Culprit.
They're all masked up. They're all masked up. I think they can get arrested if they see your face, I'm pretty sure.
For knocking on doors as he ran for his life, comparing it to a game of Knock Down Ginger, or as Americans would call it, Ding Dong Ditch. Unsurprisingly, following Culprit's death, the violence in Camden seemed to escalate further, with 3 people getting killed in 5 days in September 2019 alone. One of these victims was a man of Portuguese descent who had left the house to buy some milk when he was shot dead in Kentish Town territory, the area of the Queen's Crescent gang. This appeared to be a case of mistaken identity, and just an hour before, a woman was stabbed to death just a few hundred yards away in what turned out to be a non-gang related attack stemming from a dispute between 2 women. And then, merely 4 days later, 2 men were attacked with knives in Camden High Street, close to Camden Town Underground Station, the very heart of the borough, with one of these men being declared dead at the crime scene. This man would turn out to be a 25-year-old man who went by the nickname Nuts, real name Asad Abdullah Yarrow, who according to his girlfriend was killed by machete-wielding attackers who were looking to score points. Nuts was of Somalian descent, which would raise the question as to whether this was a targeted racial attack, as previous police intelligence did suggest that after the murder of Simiz, gang members in the area might be trying to kill any member of the Somalian community in revenge, as people allegedly connected to Nuts would post on social media denying that he was affiliated with active gang or involved in the streets, but also saying that his death was indeed the direct result of the murders of Culprit and Simiz. However, 51st members would later diss him in their songs, with Peckwater rapper Action rapping how he'd been caught because he was overweight and couldn't run away. And once again, despite the incident being mocked openly online and in songs, the police would make minimal progress in solving this crime. 2 men would be arrested for the attack soon after, but both would be let out on bail pending further inquiries. The family of Nuts would complain a year later that the case had gone nowhere and that they were still seeking justice for their son. At this point, Camden was a war zone, and as usual, nothing was being done about it. One article would appear in The Guardian describing
so it's innocent people dying, it's innocent. You can be walking this, you can be innocent, that's
Camden
crazy.
as a flashpoint for knife gang killings, shining a light on the fearful life of a local mother of 5 whose daily commute for her and her children is on the very path that Culprit lost his life on, with the article outlining the violence being fueled by the booming county lines drug trade. Interestingly, local MP Keir Starmer didn't appear to comment on the death of Culprit directly in the immediate aftermath of the murder. However, in an interview at the end of August, when asked about the topic of knife crime, he would sidestep mentioning Culprit's murder, simply saying that they have a serious problem with knife crime and mentioning the previous killings in his community, AK, S45 and Simiz. He would also claim once again that the problem is likely being fueled by budget cuts in community support as well as police services. Ironically, he would later go on to admit in the interview that it was a huge blow for him to have spent 18 months working on the knife crime report and for another fatal stabbing to have occurred. I assume he's referring to the Culprit incident, but he doesn't mention him by name. Keir Starmer would then go on to assure people that despite failings at preventing gruesome knife murders, Camden is still safe. But Camden was not safe, not by a long shot. However, in one area, progress was being made, because while gangs were still running amok in the streets of Camden, this time the police were
saying Camden is safe. I mean, if there's a war zone, I don't know how that's safe.
Closing in on suspect and his accomplices, or so they thought, because while they were gathering evidence to arrest suspect for the murder of Culprit and building up a tight case to put one of Camden's most prolific killers behind bars, they would soon realise it wouldn't be so easy, because even with all the evidence in the world, if they wanted to arrest suspect, they would first have to catch him.
Let's show you do how to catch him though. He's probably the main target they really want though.
For years, police in Camden had seemingly turned a blind eye to the gang violence going on in their community, repeatedly failing to prevent violence from breaking out on the streets and blaming the community for not providing details to catch the killers before the crimes had occurred. However, following the murder of Culprit, real name Alex Smith, it would appear that the police were finally ready to take decisive action. Or perhaps Culprit's killers had simply been so sloppy in carrying out this brazen attack that the police for once had everything they needed to put the borough's most prolific killers behind bars for good. It's likely that those responsible for the murder of Culprit knew themselves that they had been sloppy, because in the immediate aftermath, those involved took steps to try and cover their tracks and flee the authorities before they had a chance to catch up with them. Once the vehicles used in the crime had been set alight, members from active gang that were involved plotted to leave the United Kingdom for good in an effort to avoid a lifetime in prison. In the days shortly following the murder, Suspect and S-Wavy would flee the country. There were stories suggesting that Suspect had first escaped to France, with one video showing him in the hood with local gangsters. The Redditor who first posted this clip actually took the time to explain
So they probably knew that they messed up and that they're probably gonna get them. If you flee in a country, yeah, you scared, you're nervous, and probably know that they gonna catch you, bro. That's what it's sounding. That's really sounding like they scared because they're gonna catch them and all that.
its supposed origins, claiming that Suspect was actually hiding out in a North Paris suburb for 2 months, and it was here that the locals in the hood approached him, with Suspect revealing his troubles back home. Understandably, they first greeted his story with disbelief. Apparently, it wasn't until years later that they saw a French YouTuber's video covering Suspect's gruesome tale that they realised he was actually telling the truth the whole time, so they dug up the clip from their camera roll and posted it up publicly. However, ultimately, France is only a short journey from the UK, and as we saw with the case of Gambino, it's not difficult for the feds to catch you there. So, Suspect wouldn't remain in France for long. From here, it would seem that Suspect and S-Wavy would make their way further afield to Kenya. Meanwhile, 2 others who were involved, Greeks and SY, would instead flee to Kenya's neighbour, Somalia, later being seen on social media living their best lives armed with AK-47s. And several social media clips of Reeks and SY living the good life in Somalia would continue to circulate online for years to come. Ultimately, those 2 would get away, disappearing from the UK without a trace and never facing justice for their alleged involvement in this murder. However, the 2 other people involved with the murder and an accomplice wouldn't be so lucky. Armed Response would unsuccessfully try and flee the country. He was apparently in the process of trying to secure false paperwork to fly to Egypt, but was stopped at the airport. AR was arrested on the 18th of August 2019, and he would appear in court the next day, maintaining his innocence and refusing to cooperate or give any names. Eventually, he would be sentenced to life for murder on the 12th of March 2020 alongside Y Traps. He had been arrested the day before AR on August the 17th, 2019, and was later found guilty of assisting an offender receiving 2 years and 10 months in prison, specifically for his role in helping destroy the 2 cars used in the crime, as would AR's runner, who was...
AR, he tried to dip, got life in prison. To the other people, they successfully, I don't know if they really successfully escaped, because they're probably gonna still look for you. So you gotta be really gotta watch your back. Even though you probably won't, even though they probably won't find you, even though they haven't found you yet, they probably will later on. Because, I mean, trust me, they'll find you.
Caught by police back in Southampton where they had their county line operation, ultimately being arrested on the 14th of August 2019 for his involvement with the murder, getting convicted for both murder and for assisting an offender after being filmed buying the gasoline that was used to burn the getaway cars. On March 29th, 2021, he received life in prison, serving a minimum term of 18 years. Interestingly, sentencing was actually delayed a whole year due to alleged drug-induced psychosis that he claimed to be suffering during the trial of his peers. Now, I thought that was another interesting detail to mention. Not to let these young men off the hook for their awful crimes, but when you look back at the likes of Suspect and his friends, clearly taking drugs as teenagers, going missing to work in county lines drug dealing operations, likely as vulnerable children being pressured by older gang members, it's hardly surprising that these young men ended up with issues like anger, substance abuse, and ultimately extreme antisocial behaviours that culminated in murder and life in jail. In many ways, these young guys on either side of the knife have been failed by the system, and it could have been just as easily Suspect, SY, S-Wavy, or any of the members of active gang that killed Culprit being on the receiving end of the knife, with another young person like Culprit suffering from the same issues and rumoured violent behaviours that hurt others before he lost his life. There really are no winners here. Even Reeks and SY fleeing to Somalia to evade justice. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to work out that life in the UK is likely a damn sight better than life on the run in Somalia, which is literally considered one of the most dangerous countries in Africa. These aren't rational choices being made by the young men we're discussing in this story, and one does have to wonder, what are the root societal causes that are driving these gang wars? Whether it's poverty, racial tension, or a lack of strong male models preaching positivity, I can't say definitively. But the sad fact is, no matter your circumstances, if you take a life and cause a mother to grieve, you should face consequences. Armed Response, Y Traps, and did. Reeks and SY did not. And for Suspect and S-Wavy, well, for the time being, they had evaded justice. But the clock was ticking. And unlike previous murders, this time the police in Camden were determined to make sure everyone involved, or at least the ones they could catch, would face justice. However, little did they know that the out-of-control gang war on their streets would soon become a global phenomenon.
Global? I don't know who Suspect is. I don't know who that is. I'm so serious. But I ain't know this became a global thing where everybody knows about it. I ain't know that.
While the never-ending gang wars was a hot-button issue in Camden for decades, many outside of the borough had been oblivious to the deadly conflict that had been going on minutes away from one of London's most famous tourist hotspots. After all, by 2019, gang violence all over London had spiralled out of control. The Guardian reported a 10-year high on violent crime in London, with a spike in knife and gang killings. In just 4 years, the homicide rate had increased by 50%. The research group Action on Armed Violence further reported that stabbings accounted for almost two-thirds of all murders in London for 2019, and much of the gruesome activity was taking place in Camden, which kicked off its year with nearly 600 violent crimes reported in January alone. Gang activity shouldered much of the blame between County Line's drug dealing and the warring factions. Traces of violence continued to crop up across the borough, including a 25-inch blade that was found ditched next to a playground in Queen's.
Damn. They're going at there like that? Oh, yeah, nah. Oh, what? Oh my
Crescent.
God.
Stats from the Met Police would reveal Camden to be the second most dangerous borough in London, behind only Westminster. And the negativity surrounding Camden would lead mainstream outlets to brand the area as a flashpoint for violence. In essence, one of London's most desirable locations had become a battleground, with the bitter war between the
That is crazy, bro. The Universal, bro, you probably can't even go to the park or nothing. Oh my gosh. Look, you got L Block, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Bro, that's a lot. That is a lot, bro.
numerous estates that made up the 51st and 71st postcode alliances, showing no sign of ending, even with prominent members on the run or in jail. As 2019 came to a close, Suspect and S-Wavy remained hiding out in Kenya as the Met Police's manhunt continued. And at this point, something interesting happened. The rising crime rates in London coincided with the rising popularity of UK drill music that gave ordinary people a window into what was really happening in London's most dangerous estates. And despite having released just one song with little success, Money and Violence, even before fleeing to Kenya, Suspect had been recording music and plotting out a career as a rapper. And he seemingly wasn't going to let being on the run from murder charges stop his plans. In fact, Suspect had stockpiled plenty of material for his music, and the fallout from Culprit's murder only seemed to kickstart his career. Around the end of 2019, Suspect would be seen on social media freestyling with active gang members, visibly armed with machetes. Now, it's unclear whether or not this was recorded before or after the murder of Culprit, but the ultra-violent lyrics all about violence and stabbings would be a taste of what was to come from Suspect when he begun taking music more seriously.
Tomorrow morning. Yo, do like S, ching that neck, swing my shank and I take off heads. My man got from head to toe, where you got more than a belly and chest. Another 10.
Oh my gosh. Another attempt, run out of breath, you run out of luck. Bro. These, bro, they, bro, oh my goodness.
Run out of breath, you run out of luck. Run out of life, need to re-up. All my friends, they need to free up. When they see us, need to dash, they don't think twice. Try get cheeky, back in life. Bro just revved and made them fly. Get back up, I don't know how, but I catch up and get man down. Try get charged and shout. But a shout just turned to a scream. When you all gave more than free. Hold your head and stop that lead. Hold your neck cause it's hard to breathe. Take my chest and tear his belly. But it must be hard to eat.
Around a month after that freestyle clip had been circulating, on December the 16th, 2019, Suspect released his first official solo track, Way Too Charged, which he already had teased earlier that year while still being in the UK.
My blade and safe is fed. 150 peps, that's 1,000 back in breads. Zombies call for free or free. And don't look like Walking Dead. Pop them doors, they move so quick. I see man running trick. F put him in the bonnet, and the others has got to chop it.
It dropped on the popular grime and drill YouTube channel Mixtape Madness, and came with a music video filmed in person before Suspect had gone on the run for the murder of Culprit. Way Too Charged and Money and Violence were among the very few examples of Suspect himself actually appearing in one of his drill music videos in person. However, Way Too Charged represented a big leap forward in terms of Suspect's ability and confidence as a rapper. But what really stood out was the track's brutal lyrics, where Suspect bragged openly about the crimes that he and his active gang comrades had committed, casually rapping about jumping in stolen cars, looking for ops, and trying to stop their hearts, while accompanied by SY and AR. Lyrics eerily similar to the events that played out the night culprit lost his life. And it wasn't just the violent lyrics that stuck out, but the nonchalance or even enthusiasm that Suspect seemed to display when talking about violence. Like the opening bar where he says, "Bro put 5 stab wounds in someone's back and he gave him high five like, yes my ack." He would boast about ramming specific ops with cars and saying it must have stung like nettles. And even in one disturbing lyric, he mentions greeting his ops' mothers in the
That's insane, y'all. That's insane. I'm not gonna cap. That is, man.
streets, saying, "She don't know I'ma kill her son." He would also rap that he gets high off of both all the adrenaline that he gets from killing, and going on to say he's smoking C-Miz. Way Too Charged was a raw introduction to Suspect as both a rapper and a gangster. And while the majority of drill music fans listening were not yet aware of just how much truth there were behind these gruesome lyrics, this was only the beginning, and he would continue his momentum, appearing on songs and perpetuating the crimes that he had committed in the streets, something that he would continue to build on throughout his time on the run. Soon after Way Too Charged dropped, Suspect would feature on a song alongside UK drill veterans Blanco and Biss from legendary South London crew the Harlem Spartans. That was a song titled Hood Up, and saw Suspect creatively describing the murders that he had been involved in, rapping that he minus one of his ops from 51st, and now he calls them 4, promising to stab anyone from the NW5 postcode, as well as dissing the Peckwater and Queen's Crescent estates, promising to kill his ops from these areas. Slowly, Suspect was getting more confident on the mic and comfortable releasing music with outright confessions of his crimes. And despite literally still being on the run for murder charges, he was surprisingly active on social media. In early 2020, he was still active on Twitter, retweeting quotes from his favorite US rappers like Lil Durk and Quando Rondo, and then on March the 4th, 2020, he would release his next solo track, Purge Style, with a menacing concept that bordered on horrorcore, this time likening his activities in the streets to the movie The Purge, where people are granted a night to satisfy their murderous instincts without legal consequences. Once again on the song, Suspect gleefully describes the horrendous acts he committed during his time as a gang member in Camden, including disrespectful lines referencing G-Squeeze's injuries after he was rammed and stabbed, and claiming that no one has retaliated since they killed C-Miz, even claiming openly to have stabbed over 10 of his ops, including C-Miz, and describing the incident in vivid detail, comparing himself to a barber, saying his blade cut through his dreadlocks. At this point, Suspect had been evading police for around half a year.
This motherfucker Suspect is crazy. Bro, this boy Suspect is crazy. This nigga, bro, damn. He's probably the main one they really want to lock up. I really want to know if he gets locked up or he really gets free.
And it would seem that despite the arrests of some of those involved, the police were no closer to catching Suspect himself. At some point, he must have found himself feeling a rush from evading the police. Suspect would tweet soon, after Purge Style dropped, that it's ironic that cops suspect him of murder, given that his name is Suspect. He was seemingly suffering no consequences for either the crimes he committed or the music he released speaking on them. So he continued making demonic drill raps and building his profile in the drill scene. On March the 15th, 2020, active gang members dropped the posse cut No Hook, featuring Blitz, SY, Striker, and Suspect, with Suspect himself rapping concerning bars where he raps that stabbing ops is what he does for pleasure and that he's Olympic level when it comes to stabbing. He also drops juvenile bars comparing hunting ops to the schoolyard game Duck Duck Goose, suggesting the ones who get caught end up on stretchers. Even going on to drop a slick double entendre saying that he camps for ops and leaves them dead inside forensic tents. An all too familiar sight in the aftermath of the many deadly attacks that have played out in Camden so far. He would also reference the murder of 51st member Dotty, who was killed by Tottenham gang members from OFB from the Broadwater Farm Estate, saying that since Dotty died, they've never retaliated or been to the Broadwater Farm Estate. The disses were extremely specific and personal, and this would continue in every song he released. At the beginning of April 2020, Suspect would drop the song Zero Life, a collaboration with fellow accomplice of the culprit murder SY, who himself had fled to Somalia. The track came with lyrics where he claimed that he was smoking C-Miz and that it tastes so sweet, while the likes of Suspect and SY were continuing to disrespect their Camden rivals. Thousands of miles away in Africa, back in Camden, street activity would continue. On the 27th of April 2020, there was a shooting in Queen's Crescent, right outside the community centre, close to where C-Miz had been killed, an attack which left a man hospitalised. Interestingly, a month before this, Camden MP...
Let's check how the main people that was in that My bad, y'all. I'm up early trying to do this video for y'all. Suspect and them, they all flee, you know what I'm saying, to Africa and all that. And the war is still going on in Camden. Hey, I mean, because there's still gangs, so of course it's still going to be going on. But I feel like the main ones they really want to get is Suspect in them, I think. That's because from the way Traveler Wright is doing it, it really sounds like the cops are really trying to get him.
Keir Starmer had actually been elected as the leader of the Labour Party, Britain's top opposition party, putting him in the running to become Britain's next Prime Minister.
The next Prime Minister of this country, Keir Starmer.
That's the hope, now the hard yards. Labour's leader today embracing the task ahead and looking like he means business.
These elections really, really matter, and we've got to go out and we've got to win them.
So while the war in the streets raged on, the politicians would be looking for their photo opportunities. And a week after that shooting at the community centre where Keir Starmer had promised again and again to put an end to the violence, he would appear once again, smiling and handing out food. And while the war in Camden raged on, one of its main instigators, Suspect, was happily hiding out in Kenya, building his notoriety through his music career and getting more and more brazen. At the end of April, Suspect would retweet Lil Durk's post about being talked about but never touched. Clearly having evaded the police for 8 months at this point after the murder of Culprit, Suspect must have felt untouchable too. He was living life.
The thing is, man, I'm not gonna cap. I don't like this way he describing it. I feel like he might get caught just because I feel like he's antagonizing the cops. He's reposting and then he's saying this and that. I don't know, bro. I feel like if you keep on doing that, I feel like eventually they're gonna find you, bro.
Like a real-life character from Grand Theft Auto. And with that in mind, perhaps unsurprisingly, he would take inspiration from violent video games when it came to promoting his music. On May the 24th, 2020, Suspect released the track Franklin, Trevor and Michael, likening himself, SY and S-Wavy to the murderous main protagonists from the 5th game in the infamous series of gangster video games Grand Theft Auto. On the song, Suspect begins by recognizing how small back and forths between gangs can quickly escalate before again talking about the violent game that his life has become. Perhaps comparing it to a video game is one of the only ways that Suspect could cope with the grim details of his life as a gangster. But for now, he would thankfully be unable to commit any more murders, being restrained to simply rapping about crime. But even from Kenya, he would be eager to go back and forth with his ops, who continue to send verbal shots from Camden. On June the 7th, 2020, Action from Peckwater drops a freestyle dissing Active Gang and their dead members. He starts off by name-dropping Sadiq, aka S45, who was killed in the night of violence after Dottie's vigil, as well as disrespecting Nuts, who was killed soon after Culprit in what some believe is a retaliation attack, as well as Mitch, the OG to many AG members who was murdered back in 2017. This was a pointed response aimed at Active Gang members who were now rappers, an effort to use the mic to tell the world that numerous people from the 71st areas had been killed too. This would result in a musical back and forth. Within a few days later, on June the 12th, 2020, Suspect uploads a freestyle with a mask on in a kitchen, directly responding to Action from Peckwater.
Aye. About Suspect speed up, where was we can squeeze up, hit my steps and beat up. Whack from throwing pizza, Miss got packed from throwing Pfizer, Cop got packed from throwing Caesar. What a mess, call a cleaner, AG step roll up, block creeper. What a mess, what a mess. Got away with chings on, don't do legs, don't do legs. Ask me how he changed his neck. He went harmless gang, Victor's man in dumping chef. Step through combo, then go quest. There's no point of going to peck. When Broski's got that 40, heading the path that shot too naughty. Ay, so many ups on boom, you bear death threats, I swear they bores me. If we get hands on, I guarantee they're gonna dig his grave. I wish they saw how Miz got caved in. Trust me, he would've acted that brave. He put his foot on the gas, he nearly got window shaved. One more thing would've got his face, would've been the end of the modelling days. Can't wait till I get that back. They see if that Neat can run. What do you...
Man, bro. Damn. And he's responding to them too, y'all. He's responding back to them too.
Have in common, they've all been done. And what the have in common, they ain't done nothing. Aye, just know for cutting. Get around there and do it with no discussion. Aye, if I get a fish from the waters, no, I'm a gutting. Aye, get man.
Interestingly, Suspect had seemingly gotten more comfortable showing more of himself online, posting another picture in the same kitchen, holding up 2 fingers, signalling how many people he'd killed, and once again likening his life to a video game with a caption reading, one more killing and it's a UAV, a reference to popular first-person shooter Call of Duty that awards players a UAV or unmanned aerial vehicle when they achieve a streak of 3 kills without dying themselves. Perhaps to some, it was a funny joke, but it really shows that to Suspect, the murderous life he'd lived as a gangster was just like a video game. And at this point, he was still yet to face any consequences for these 2 murders he'd allegedly committed. And as the year went on, he would continue to lean into his new identity as a buzzing drill rapper. His next release was the track Test My Temper on June 22nd, 2020. Suspect would also claim to be the reason that his ops are hiding and that even their mothers are frightened, and ending the track saying that they've got plenty of their ops and have the police stressed because they can't find evidence on them. This was a bold statement, essentially taunting the cops who had yet to locate Suspect.
That's what I'm saying. He's saying that taunting the cops and everything. He's taunting the cops, saying that they ain't got no evidence. Damn.
At this point, Test My Temper was also one of the rare occasions where the song came with a music video. However, because Suspect had fled the UK at this point, he would now have to rely on body doubles to play him in those videos. The video itself was unusual in some ways. It portrayed Active Gang as a sophisticated criminal organisation running out of their headquarters in Agar Grove, and depicted members gathered at a meeting watching a presentation of the ops on their hit list and debating how threatening each one might be, with one scene even mocking Peckwater member C2 for working as a model, something that's hardly a diss when you consider C2 seemingly had a lot of success in modelling and even once got a shout out from Kanye West on Twitter. But anyway, the music video depicted Active Gang as a well-organised and large gang with a lot of members moving militant.
They dissing you for being a model? Damn, so he was a recent gamer and then he came. Shit, at least he became a model. At least he's not in the streets. At least he changed his life and became a model.
Suspect was by no means the only one trying to get his music career off the ground. The following month, on July 2020, Active Gang members released the song Straight Facts.
I'm pretty sure he don't really care that people are dissing him. I mean, he's a model. Come on, he's a model. I mean, he's making money from that. Pretty sure he don't care about the streets.
Which featured Broad Day, Too Smoky, Yevs, and ML. In the second and third verse, Yevs and Too Smoky appear to refer to C Miz by his nickname, C Murder, saying that they put red rum in a box, i.e. they killed him, and rapping that now he's dead, they're smoking murder and putting him in the air. Despite the ruthless lyrics, it was clear Active Gang members, beyond Suspect, were beginning to develop as rappers and make a name for themselves in drill music. However, as is often the case, unfortunately a lot of these guys are so deep in the streets, even when it becomes clear that they have a talent for music, it can be hard to leave dangerous habits in the past. And once it was a full year on from the murder of Culprit, the streets of Camden would become extremely deadly, and drill music would provide the soundtrack for yet another violent summer.
You know, the thing is, music as a part of the killings and stuff like that, it's going to keep going on and on unless the government or the community wants to change and have the violence stop, if they really care enough for that, you know what I'm saying?
By the summer of 2020, the many gang conflicts that had plagued the streets of Camden and beyond were as heated as ever, and over time, new alliances were being forged in the streets and in music. This would soon see the violence broadening beyond Camden's borders, with new gangs and sets being brought into the conflict. Two warring gangs that had a historical hatred for each other are SSK, based in the South Kilburn estate in Brent, northwest London, a borough bordering Camden, and HRB, or the Harrow Road Boys, named after Harrow Road, a long stretch of road based in the historic city of Westminster that borders both Camden and Brent. But the gang itself is primarily based around the Mozart estate, which sits in the W9 postcode. This is the estate famously repped by one of the biggest rappers coming out of West London, Fredo. HRB and SSK have historically maintained beef with each other over the span of 3 decades. There's enough history between these two crews to make an entire video, and maybe one day I will. But for now, all you need to know is that these are yet 2 more London neighbourhoods in a perpetual war. And in the summer of 2020, that war would be driven into overdrive when a HRB affiliate by the name of Billy the Kid was shot in the back twice on July the 16th, 2020, losing his life allegedly as a result of a shootout initiated by his own side. And in a heartbreaking turn of events, his own friends would end up being found culpable for his death due to the police presenting evidence that they were the ones who started shooting. This is a sad situation, and yet another example of the many tragic and unintended consequences that can result from living the gang lifestyle. Following this incident, the tension between these two warring gangs went to another level, and behind the scenes, it was rumoured that members of HRB had become friendly with members of Active Gang, with it being suggested that Active Gang may have even had close friendships with Billy, the HRB member who lost his life in that shootout. With that in mind, on the 1-year anniversary of the murder of Culprit, yet another brutal slaying would occur on the streets of London, this time concerning an affiliate of South Kilburn. According to reports, on August the 12th at 12:20 AM, a silver Jaguar XF estate circled the block at Hansel Road, eventually spotting SSK affiliate Gucci, real name Jeffrey Wegby, outside of his house. 2 gunmen jumped out of the vehicle and fired 10 shots. He managed to make it inside,
Nice.
but he'd been shot 4 times in the chest with 2 different guns. Eyewitnesses that were at the scene reported that the shooters didn't seem in a hurry as they leisurely re-entered the Jaguar and left the scene in what seemed like a professional hit job. After this went down, police responded to reports of a shooting at Hansel Road, and when they arrived, they found Gxng in his home with gunshot wounds to the chest, and he was pronounced dead at the scene. Following the discovery of the body, a forensic team was seen collecting evidence throughout the day, and initially there were no leads, and later the police would appeal for more information on the murder, ultimately releasing CCTV footage of the
There's the gun laws. How the hell are they getting guns like that? It's like isn't like rare in the UK that they have guns like that? Well, I know the police on them do, but like, I don't know, man. Like, how do they? I don't know, bro.
Jaguar, and even offering a £20,000 reward for information. Once news broke of this early morning assassination, the papers would then begin reporting on the backstory of the man who lost his life. Gxng had apparently picked up that name due to it being his favourite brand of clothing. He was apparently a churchgoer, with his family being religious and his brother being a schoolteacher. Gxng was apparently a respected member of his community, and his slaying had surprised many of those who were unaware of his apparent ties to the streets in South Kilburn. However, when he was young, he had reportedly sold his passport for extra cash, and according to the news, his family knew that he was into some dodgy stuff, but never pressed him on it. Alleged affiliates of the South Kilburn street gang would be seen posting next to his grave after the funeral. Gxng was mourned by his community and friends, who posted it to social media following the shooting. There also appeared to be a connection between Gxng and another famous drill rapper, Digger D, who also has a bitter grudge against Fredo from HRB, with Digger posting Gxng rapping up on his Snap story and later even shouting him out in the ruthless HRB diss track Blue Woo 2, which also included numerous lines going at Active Gang and Broad Day Assassin specifically. A prominent member of HRB by the name of Lil Dots would release a collaboration track with Broad Day from Active Gang just a month after the murder, a disrespectful diss song called Roll Up. Roll Up had a bold chorus where Dots rapped that they put people on the news, rapping that Harrow Road and Active Gang kill and stab their ops together, and that they ride with 2 guns, shoot, and drive back to the Mozart estate to smoke Gooch, with the line about rolling with 2 guns being particularly brazen considering the fact that the forensics in the Gxng murder proved that 2 different guns were used to kill him. The following month, on November the 1st, 2020, he drops the song No Hook, not to be confused with the Active Gang track No Hook from March 2020. This new song was a collaboration between Broad Day and Suspect, along with Absav, Workrate, and 60, members from another collective known as 156. Later in the song, Suspect would grab the mic and rap a disturbing verse saying that he can't ask Culprit how the chest shot that he gave him feels, and reminiscing on the murder he committed, rapping that he remembers that day and it gives him chills and makes him laugh when he smokes and thinks about it. Even going on to say that he would do it all again because he loves that feeling. Talking about the dirt you did to your ops is one thing, but the way that Suspect elaborates on the pleasure that murder gives him is truly
and then
twisted.
Not only he's talking about it too, he is talking about the stuff he did, the murders that he committed. That's him, and then they wonder why they get locked up.
And Suspect would also reference his
stitching
Islamic
yourself.
faith in the verse, rapping that fellow AG member SY is a savage, and despite not being a member of the Islamic militant organization Al-Shabaab, he's still trying to kill kuffars, or non-believers, and saying that he hasn't been doing his 5 daily prayers of Salah because he's been in a car with a gun on his lap. Suspect goes on to drop a highly incriminating lyric, rapping that it was at night when Culprit got killed, and that the cops still want the suspect for that, essentially taunting the Camden police, who at this point, over a year after the murder, had still been unable to capture him. Suspect goes on to reference the other murder he claims responsibility for, insulting his ops and saying that they can't get C-Miz or C-Murder back and that he's smoking on him. And Suspect would even end his verse referencing the most recent murder of Gxng, rapping that Gucci's gang only know how to show off, but since he got killed, they haven't retaliated, and questioning if they have firearms or are willing to use them. Altogether, this song was yet another shocking dig at their rivals, both in Camden and in South Kilburn, who had buried Gxng less than 2 months before this song came out. Broad Day's first upload of No Hook would clock in 100,000 views in a day, but the original upload would eventually be taken down by the police. Perhaps unsurprisingly, just days after No Hook released, rumours would circulate suggesting that Broad Day had been arrested in connection to the case. However, there was never any public confirmation that an arrest had been made in connection with the murder of Gxng, and during this time, images would would circulate seemingly showing Lil Dots and Broad Day Assassin in jail together, but it's unclear when these pictures were taken or exactly what charges they were facing at this time. But while Broad Day was behind bars, even from Kenya, Suspect would begin to reference the murder of Gucci mockingly in his songs, like his appearance on the track Still Active with CB, where Suspect raps that he's smoking on Gucci, an insult that he would repeat again on the 2022 track A-Style. And Suspect wasn't the only one, as S-Wavy also name-dropped Gucci later that year on a leaked track called Savages. However, despite the public disrespect and seemingly open discussion of Gucci's murder on songs, it would seem ultimately that there was no evidence connecting Broad Day to the murder of Gucci, and he could very well be completely innocent and just inferring a connection to the crime to further his rap career. And the following year, in August 2021, Broad Day would seemingly be fresh out of jail, beating whatever charges he was facing, and appearing in a celebratory social media post on Suspect's Snapchat story, where Suspect told Broad Day Assassin to do up his laces, as well as appearing on an Instagram live with fellow Active Gang members T-Scam and Suspect celebrating his release. This live would be yet another brazen display, which started with Broad Day rapping along to Pooh Shiesty's revenge anthem Back in Blood and changing the lyrics to shout out Lil Dot's Hood Mozart. Eventually, we would see Broad Day, T-Scam, and Suspect all attempting to join together on a three-way Instagram live, with Suspect's internet struggling, prompting comments saying he's got that Kenyan connection. Once Suspect's connection was working, he would congratulate Broad Day on beating his case, as well as bigging him up for getting people.
Broad Day Assassin, you know. Fresh song, fam. Mr. Gang, dog.
This would be followed by Broad Day rapping lyrics where he says that their gang is infamous for guns and knives and saying they roll with blickies.
Hey, Sus.
What's happening, lads?
Infamous for guns and necks.
Hey, it's infamous for guns and necks. My Charles G keep telling me rap. Hey.
Charles G keeps telling me rap. Infamous for guns and necks.
My Charles G keep telling me rap because I ain't done a drill when I hatred sent to a rapper.
80 clicky.
80 clicky. Roll my blicky.
T-Scam would say that the people have been waiting to hear from Broad Day, but he doesn't freestyle before ending that live because his mask is too hot.
Hey, BA, they want to hear you though, man. I know that's what everyone's here for. Well, they don't do freestyles, man. Wow. They only got straight exclusives. Oh, man. How can I be like him?
Hey, that's a luck of thing. I can't even breathe behind this mask, bro. I feel like I'm dying, bro.
This would be followed by social media footage appearing to show Broad Day in the jewelers treating himself to a welcome home gift, an iced out AP watch. And Broad Day would go on to release numerous songs. But despite him being free, the following month, London police would announce 2 unnamed people had been arrested in connection to the murder. But these charges would seemingly fail to stick too, and by February 2022, the BBC News reported that despite the offer of £20,000 for any information on the case, Gucci's murder remained unsolved and the killers were still on the streets. Perhaps
come on, nobody is gonna come forward and say who did it. Come on now, because not only they're giving away who did it, they're putting themselves, their lives in danger, knowing somebody might try to get them if they say something, if they witness and saying the murder or something. That's why I feel like sometimes the murders don't get solved, is because people are scared. And police can say witness protection, but that people can still
we'll never know who was truly responsible for this brazen assassination. But what is clear is that Active Gang and its members were eager to use their music to paint a picture of themselves as being responsible for all the deadly acts going on around them. And unfortunately, after a violent summer in 2020, with the police once again stumped and unable to stop the street revenge from playing out, soon Active Gang's rival would make a move in an effort to avenge the loss of culprit the year before.
Oh, they gave back for culprit? Okay. We see. Okay. Now they're about to give back for their homie that passed away the year before.
As is often the case with these years-long gang conflicts, certain dates become associated with important events and individuals in the gang. And this means that these dates, and the dates surrounding them, can often see repeats of violence. On the 1-year anniversary of culprit's death, the murder of Gucci had taken place, with lyrics and rumours suggesting that Active Gang members may have played a role in, or at the very least, celebrated the killing. However, just a month later, it would be culprit's birthday. On September the 14th, just one day before culprit's birthday, a young man known as Dirts, real name Kamal Nur, had been walking down a North London street, where he was approached by 2 men who rode up on a bicycle. A confrontation took place and Dirts was chased, with a witness describing a fight lasting less than a minute which ended with Dirts being stabbed around 8 PM on Gxng Close, just off North Road in Archway. Civilians that described the incident to the police would attempt to save him as he lay on the floor yelling for help, but when paramedics arrived, Dirts was pronounced dead at the scene, and once again, another forensic tent was put up in a North London street. Dirts himself was allegedly affiliated with a street crew based around the nearby Miranda estate in Archway where this murder happened, known as the A-Team, which is associated with Active Gang and their ongoing feud with the estates that make up the 51st Postcode Alliance. Following his death, flowers would be left near the site of the murder, and friends and family would mourn the loss of yet another young man losing his life to a knife before his time. After the murder, the two suspects fled the scene on the same pedal bike, and the police would release images of the suspects publicly in the hopes that somebody might be able to
they were doing a hit on a bike?
offer up information on what had happened. This would actually wind up being one of the rare occasions that the police were actually able to identify those responsible, with 51st affiliates Lebs, real name Michael Levy, and Wanda, real name Melvis Mariano, as well as a 17-year-old girl who allegedly burned their clothes, being arrested in connection to the murder of the following month. Lebs would be photographed on the wing in jail, and while they seemingly pled not guilty, they're still awaiting for a scheduled trial. And once again, it's important to remember that everybody is innocent until proven guilty, and until a full trial has taken place, we cannot say definitively who was involved in this incident. Interestingly, however, despite the trial having not taken place, numerous individuals associated with the estates from 51st have made comments taking responsibility for the crime. A year after culprit's murder, Gutter from Peckwater, or One Side as his crew would eventually call themselves, would make a lengthy post on social media referencing the death of Dirts, with a long diatribe seemingly aimed at suspect, saying that you're rattled, thousands of miles away in Kenya, and your life is finished. Going on to diss Dirts, saying that he was dead on culprit's birthday and that he, Dirts, died behind suspect's cause, and saying that was his man who hung around his members and that suspect can't control the score in the gang war all the way in Africa. Even going on to accuse suspect of denying Dirts was affiliated with him out of embarrassment and accusing him of trying to sweep Active Gang's losses under the rug. Even going as far as to say suspect flew to Africa after culprit's murder and became addicted to social media clout, calling him Vlad TV, even ending by saying that he reps a block that he wasn't even ever from. Prominent 51st or One Side member Chinks would also echo these sentiments in a tribute song to Culprit titled Usual Culprits, where he rapped that somebody got murdered and it could have been W or L in reference to Ones or Lebs, going on to say, we got that W, they suffered a L, they lie and cover it well. Another reference to suspects supposedly denying association with Dirts after the murder. Clearly the killing of Dirts on culprit's birthday was an emotional topic for both sides. A couple of years after the murder, on March the 20th, 2022, Gutter from Peckwater drops the song Straight Facts, with lyrics that said outright that they felt Dirts' murder was direct revenge for culprits. He would rap that his ops talk about culprit and that he can talk about getbacks that were sent by One Side, as well as claiming that they got revenge and killed an op at the same location where Active Gang members filmed their music video for an earlier song with the same title, Straight Facts, with the location Dirts was killed being Gxng Close, only 2 minutes walk from Corporation Street, with the sign visibly being seen in the background of the original version of Straight Facts. As far as the estates from 51st saw it, they had got back for culprit and avenged their friend who had been so brutally killed by Suspect and his Active Gang conspirators. However, as far as the fans were concerned, Suspect's star as a rapper was still rising. Word was only just beginning to spread about the violent acts that he had carried out on the streets, and his ability to evade the authorities in an international game of cat and mouse had been going on for a year at this point. So regardless of these supposed get-back, from here, Suspect would continue to work on his music and commentate on the gang war from a distance. And through to the end of 2020 and into 2021, he would go on an untouchable run as a rapper, rapidly building a fan base as the mystique around this on-the-run, double-murdering rapper who cannot be caught continued to pick up steam.
So it's pretty much like TK on the run, but TK got caught though.
On October the 4th, 2020, Suspect and T-Scam, along with the help of prolific UK drill video creator Pac-Man TV, teamed up to release the video for their breakout track, The Hotspot. It came with a menacing music video where Suspect, played by a body double, rapped into a mic surrounded by Active Gang goons. This time, they were all adorning red bandanas, seemingly now identifying themselves as Bloods. Despite there not seemingly being a long heritage of affiliation with a blood gang, perhaps this was a stylistic choice made in order to have a clear distinction between their rivals from 51st estates, like Cumbo, that had traditionally worn blue and identified as Crip, way back in the day from when Suspect was still affiliated with that group. However, some people have actually suggested online that factions actually split into Bloods and Crips all the way back in 2007 and 8 when the Cumbo Boys and the QC blocks came into conflict. Regardless, now Active Gang members were making Blood Gang iconography a central part of their aesthetic, as well as beginning to use the traditional LA blood chant Su Woo as an ad-lib on songs. This would further widen their appeal to an international audience who perhaps didn't understand the nuance of London's warring postcode gangs, but were already familiar with the Blood and Crip rivalries all over America. But outside from the blooded out music video, the song The Hotspot was loaded with derogatory lines aimed straight at active gang's rivals. Suspect would claim to be smoking 3 deceased ops, Culprit, C-Miz, and Gucci, and he would paint a vivid picture of attacking his ops with any weapons he could find, rapping that his crew do shootings, stabbings, and even resort to swinging cans full of tuna in a sock if they need to produce a makeshift weapon whilst fighting ops in.
Nah, they got it, bro. They got it. They got it, bro.
Jail, and describing running his ops down until they're out of breath and blood, putting them in the mud, and thinking about who he killed when he's smoking, as well as dissing C-Miz once again with a reference to Smoke from Congo and saying, "Don't ask him who else got killed," a reference to Culprit. Suspect would even compare shooting ops in the streets to shooting them in video games, saying killing his ops is as simple as pressing L2 R2 on a PlayStation controller, and that he turns his ops block into Warzone like the multiplayer game. Suspect also goes on to use a pun on the name of the rapper Tupac Shakur, saying that he's got 2 packs, or that he killed 2 people, and now all eyes are on him as he evades justice abroad. The Hotspot was yet another brutal and offensive diss track, but once again, Suspect and T-Scam proved that they were able to bring this shocking and violent content to life in an original way that captivated UK drill fans. And as a result, the track passed 1 million views in less than 2 months, marking the first time rappers from Active Gang had hit such a substantial milestone. Active Gang members even received a commemorative plaque for their achievement, and in yet another grim display of
Bro, at Culprits for what? Got that where they killed the person Alex and they're flexing that plaque in the ops territory.
disrespect to their rivals, Active Gang members would take this plaque to various locations where their ops had been killed and took photos, including the location of Culprit's murder, the Peckwater estate, the front door of the apartment where Gucci was assassinated, and the street where C-Miz was stabbed to death. And this is something that Suspect would later go on to reference in his Cold Room freestyle, rapping the brutal bar, "The same place where he got packed is the same place we flex our plaques." Naturally, with this sort of brazen and offensive activity going on, it didn't take long for the authorities to catch wind, and the official upload of the Hotspot music video was eventually taken down, most likely as part of the Metropolitan Police's shady campaign titled Operation Domain, a monitoring operation.
Wait, so they can take it down? They're gonna take it down if you're using like some of the content or something like that.
To remove music from YouTube, which they claim incites violence, perpetuates and fuels the gang wars in London. This strategy has been criticised as the Met Police essentially suppressing the young black men who have been neglected by the government and are trying to escape their situation through making music. And I guess when you can't stop the crime and blaming the community for not snitching doesn't work, you might as well just go after the music too. In my opinion, the music has nothing to do with it. The music is simply a reflection of what's really going on in the streets. But regardless of whether or not you think it's right for the police to be able to have free reign to censor drill music with zero oversight, they ultimately did not have any effect when it came to slowing the momentum of Active Gang members' rising notoriety on social media. The month after the Hotspot music video dropped, Suspect's name was buzzing on social media. On November the 8th, 2020, Suspect would even go live on Instagram holding a talent show for his fans. Seemingly with an audience from all over the world, Suspect would even have American fans showing up, trying their hand at spitting the very same murderous drill raps.
The thing is, bro, if you're in UK and you're getting America, yeah, then you good. You getting people from America that fuck with you, that means you made it. If you do that, that means you made it.
Made Suspect famous.
What's up, bro?
What's up, bro? You good?
Yeah, chilling.
Chilling, man. You come for the talent show, yeah? You come to spit some
Yeah. Yo, hey,
Come
you think I could spit like a little? Hey, bro, I'm from the States, bro. So you think I can spit something?
Yeah, man. Go on.
I can't even talk on the I've done, but I keep on swinging the Sammy. Poke man's back with a left and a right. It's a double whammy. But they keep on testing my temper. I'm leaving you soaked with your by dismembered. Now your boss keep asking for me like, where did I go? But I fled the scene. And I ain't gonna leave no traces. I keep my tracks so squeaky and clean. Like a man go hit from the back on the cupping on Stanley's steam.
Is he speaking like them? Did he just say he from the States?
And I still go back to the hood, pour my cup, promethazine, take a few perks, smoke a little trees, gonna have the bean. Then I still get calls from Mavis, shipping up lab, looking like Quavis. Never been booked on a handout. Always been a type to send them packs out, and I with them max out. Fill me up, cool boy, no. Hey, bro, I've been listening to your music for a minute now, bro. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, man. I rate that, man. I respect that, man.
Bro, it's a blessing to be on here, bro. For real. Mad love, for real, bro. Mad love. Nah, look.
Nah, big up your thing, man. Big up your thing, man.
Soon, the British fans would be joining and entertaining Suspect by rapping that they're smoking on people that he literally killed.
Yeah, I've got some bars still.
Yeah, let me hear some bars.
Yeah, you ready? Right. Combo skirt to the fifth, but there's no one in the fifth. Skirt that combo, smoking gelato, smoking 5 and didn't.
Hey.
Go.
Oh, what? The fan? Oh, nah. That's the one thing, bro. You can have fans, but once fans start talking about something that you did and all that, damn, bro. Even the fans are getting involved.
Hey. How love,
Yes, you know, bro. You're hard still.
Yeah, love, man. Love.
At one point, Suspect begins telling the fans and police that he's a good guy and a role model.
I'm too kind, innit? I'm a good guy, fam. The Jakes need to know this as well. Sus is a good guy. Good man. Role model, you can say.
And at one point, he even gets on with a younger member from the Mozart estate associated with the Harrow Road Boys, with that group and Active Gang being rumoured to have had something to do with the murder of Gucci from South Kilburn, with Suspect even joking, telling him that he should switch gangs to Active Gang, even offering him a zombie knife and a parcel of dope to get him started, and going on to tell him he needs to graduate from flick knives to zombie knives and then guns, before trolling and saying that he wants to become a youth worker in Cumbo.
Who do you beef? Who do you beef?
Oh, SK, fam.
From South Philly?
Yeah.
Where you from?
Zarts, man.
Yeah, South Philly, that?
Trust me, fam.
Trust me, man. I'm a civilian, innit? But I heard it from right now. You really involved, though?
Yeah, some man, yeah.
You really in the streets, though?
Mm.
I'm gonna ask little Dutch right now, man. What's your name?
Yeah, man.
What's your name?
JB, fam.
JB, yeah?
Yeah.
Saying that, man. Saying, what? How old are you?
Don't worry. I can't speak on that.
Can't speak on that?
No.
Say you're a young boy. Are you a young boy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are you a young boy?
Yeah, I'm alright.
Come on, you might as well come AG, man.
Is it?
Yeah, man. I got a Zeki and a G pack for you.
Swear.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, no.
He's not
You
joking.
wanna come, yeah?
Yeah.
Saying that, man. That's it, man. You're gonna be you're the new generation, man. Keep it up. You get me? But
Yeah.
obviously, you see this rapping thing. Obviously, you don't do this rapping thing without like the proof in the pudding. So obviously, we're gonna have to do some missions first, innit? You get me?
Of course, man.
Come on,
Missions?
man. That's it, man. You're
Bro, what
down,
is
man.
this,
What, you got
GTA?
friends on that, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it, man. I've got enough Zekis for everyone.
Swear.
Yeah, that's it, man.
No, I'm about them burners, fam.
Huh?
I'm about them waps, fam.
Waps, yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, man. There's obviously there's stages, isn't it?
Yeah.
But instead of doing the Flicky Rambo thing, man, I'm just gonna quickly boom, promote you to a straight ZK, you get me? And boom,
Yeah,
give
I
you.
hear that.
Obviously, I'm a civilian, to be honest, innit? I just know people that are into that.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about youth work and that. Samuel Lithgow, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Trying to get a job in Samuel Lithgow and that youth club in Cumbo. So yeah, man. Obviously, I'm trying to like help the youths in Cumbo and that, like get it right onto the right path. So yeah, man.
Cumbo.
Yeah, man.
But them man are all on the right path already. You know that.
Obviously they're not there, innit? So it wouldn't be a problem for me to work there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, they're not there, man. Empty, vacant if the truth be told.
Another kid then joins the live and jokes that he's going to slide on Suspect.
Alright, guys. That is it for part 3. I'll see you guys in part 4, man. Like, subscribe, and share me. Y'all know the vibes, man. Yeah.